Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sean and today I am doing the in or out tag. So this is a tag where I take certain elements in books and I say whether I like it, whether it is in, or if I think it should be fired into the sun and it is out. Of course, it needs to be said that there are always exceptions. So even if I do not generally like something, that does not mean it cannot be done well or that I cannot enjoy it. There are always exceptions. The first prompt is reading the last page first. This one would be a definite out for me. I know some people do this because they want to see like if it's a happy ending or not, or if the character dies, or if the couple winds up together, or what. But personally, I would just never do this. The second prompt is enemies to lovers. I really have no issues with this concept. I would in fact like it. I do have problems with how it is done sometimes. For instance, one thing I don't like is when books are called enemies to lovers, but the characters are never really even enemies. I mean, it may just be like at the start, maybe the guy is just a little bit rude to the girl or whatever. And I just don't really think that's enemies to lovers. I mean, they're never really opposed to each other. They're never trying to like stop each other or kill each other or whatever. It's just, oh, we slightly don't like each other, so we are enemies to lovers. No, I don't think so. Enemies to lovers has to be more than that. It cannot just be, oh, he slightly or greatly aggravates me or pushes my buttons or whatever. That is not enemies to lovers. Another thing I would not like about this trope would be if the love interest is just plain straight out abusive to the other person. And yeah, that is just not cool. But all in all, I have no problems with this trope, so I would say it is in. The third prompt is dream sequences. I really have no major problems with this one. I mean, I think it can be definitely overdone. One thing I would not like is when dream sequences are used to like try to trick readers. Like, aha, you thought this was real life, didn't you? Well, it was all a dream. I do not like that. So that part of it would be out. But on the whole, dream sequences would not really bother me. So I guess I would say in. The next prompt is love triangles. This one is one that doesn't really bother me much. I know a lot of books can do it poorly, and maybe it is an overdone trope. So I mean, I could go on and talk about like ways to try to keep this fresh or unique or original or whatever, or just things about this trope that are just way overdone. But all in all, I think the trope is fine, love triangles. So this is definitely a delicate one, but do I really have any problems with it? Would I like to see this trope just done away with? No. So I would say love triangles are in. The next prompt is cracked spines. This is really something that just I have no interest in. So I mean, like, I never do that when I get a book, is like break it in, break the spine. I don't know who does that or why really. I guess I could see the reason for like a larger book. All in all though, I have just never done this. And I guess it is annoying when you get a book and you see the spine is just all torn up. So all in all, for this one, I would say out. The sixth prompt is back to my small town. So this one's a little tricky. I mean, this is like a genre of books in its own right. I would say I think it's kind of annoying, especially when this person goes back to their hometown or whatever, and 9 times out of 10, the one they fall in love with was like their high school boyfriend or whatever, or someone in school who like they used to hate, and then that person is still in the town. Usually they are like with the police department, and so these characters meet up again, and just all of a sudden they kind of start falling in love again, and maybe it's like the enemies to lovers thing because it's like they have a past together. On the whole, I would say I am just tired of these kind of books, so I would say out. Prompt 7, monsters are real people. This one would definitely be in. I think it is really interesting reading a book where the protagonist is just really not a good person. The one that comes to mind for me is Eric, the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera. I really love that character. So I like characters who are just like mad scientists and whatever, just really messed up people in the head. That is cool. There are a lot of evil people in the world, and I think it's real interesting trying to figure out like the psychology of that person when they are not just like, haha, I'm evil for no reason. What is going on in their mind? What do they think about themselves? Do they think they are a good person? Why do they do what they do? What are their goals? It's just a really interesting issue, so I love that. So that is definitely in. The 8th prompt is no paragraph breaks. I'm not going to spend much time on this one. This is definitely out. I love my paragraphs. So, no. If a book is just blocks or pages of just one paragraph, that might become a quick DNF. You need to have paragraph breaks to give readers a pause, to let them take a break. So, yeah. This one, no paragraph breaks, is definitely out. Nine is multi-generational sagas. So this is one that I've read several books like this, and I have not really liked them much. But I am reading a book right now that has this multi-generational sagas, I think, and I am liking it pretty well. I won't say what that book is offhand. Okay, it's A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mystery. I'm enjoying it so far. So, this is one that can definitely be tricky. I mean, the writer has to be good at their craft, good at what they're doing. They have to come up with compelling characters. They have to have an overarching, like, character plot and a plot arc. So this would be real difficult to do well. But if it can be done well, I think it would be great. And it's really a testament to a great writer behind the wheel. So for multi-generational sagas, I would say in. The 10th prompt is rereading. I have never really reread books in my life except for this book, A Constitutional Faith by Hugo Black. I have probably read this book about 10 or 15 times. So I am just not a rereader because there are so many books that I have to read that I kind of think rereading would be a waste of time largely. I mean, you're reading something you've already read when there's stuff that is on your to-read list. So because of that, personally, I would just say this one is out. There are a couple books that I am interested in rereading. One would be Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Another book I might reread is Carson McCullers' The Heart is a Lonely Hunter, because that book just really perplexes me and I think I'd like to give it another try. So those are two books I'm interested in rereading, but all in all, I am just not a rereader, so I say out. 11 is artificial intelligence, which would mean probably sci-fi, or right now, of course, artificial intelligence. That's like our current day. I'm just not really into this. I mean, it just doesn't interest me much at all. So I'm not into sci-fi, and I am really tired of all the talk about artificial intelligence. It's just being way overdone. And I mean, like, you see all these robots coming out now, and I mean, like, as a kid I was watching like Terminator 2 and iRobot, and to me that was like, oh, this is science fiction, you know, but now it's like current day stuff that's happening, so I'm just like, no, have you guys not watched movies? Do you not see what you're doing? This is not a good thing. I don't know. I'm just not really into the artificial intelligence stuff. I mean, yes, it can definitely be done well, but since I'm not really into sci-fi, I would just say out. Twelve on the list is drop caps. So this is in books where you have a real big fancy letter to start out the chapter. I've just never liked that. I mean, I've never been like, ooh, look at that drop cap letter or whatever. I mean, so I don't know, it just doesn't do anything for me personally. If this just completely went away, I would probably start to notice it and be like, hey, whatever happened to books where it's like the real big letter to begin the chapter? I liked that. I don't know. So maybe it's like something you'd only miss once it's gone, but it's just never done anything for me. And in my books, I've never bothered doing this. So I would say drop caps are out. The 13th prompt is happy endings. So this one I am greatly tempted to say out because a lot of my books also have tragic endings. So I'm like, haha, I like twisting the knife. That's how I am as a writer or a person. But would I like to just read books where it's just bad ending after bad ending? No. So I mean, we like our happy endings. We don't want to read this whole thing and for it to end in disaster. So as a reader, I understand that. I like my happy endings as a reader. So I have to say in. 14 is plot points that only converge at the end. This one would be very dangerous because if I do not really know the author or know what kind of book they're writing, if I'm reading this book and the plot is just not making sense, if there's parts that are just like, I don't understand why this is here, is this going to lead to anything? And I just keep reading and nothing is happening, I could get tired of the book and give up on it for that reason. So because of that, this is a very dangerous thing. Plot points only converging at the end. But if it is done well, I would definitely like it. The author that comes to mind to me would be Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy would have 8 different plot things going on, and you don't maybe know what does this have to do with anything, but he joins it all together at the end. I do like that. So it is risky. You have to have good enough writing to keep me invested in the plot, invested in the characters. So very risky, very difficult to do well. But if it is done well, I would absolutely love this. So plot points only converging at the end, to me, is a definite in. The 15th prompt is detailed magic systems. So this one's difficult for me to answer because I do not read much fantasy. I don't like fantasy. So I do not read much books about spells. I know I have these Harry Potter books right here. So I really don't know. I mean, it can be done well, or it could just overload readers with useless information. So I'm really torn about this one. I guess just to be fair, I will say in, but I mean, this is a very thin in. It's a very unenthusiastic in, just because I'm not into fantasy. But if it's done well, I would of course be into that. So I would say in. 16 is classic fantasy races. So you remember what I said at the start, that everything has exceptions. I mean, things can be done well. For this one, I am going to say oh, damn it. The 16th prompt is classic fantasy races. Damn it. So for this one, damn it. The 16th prompt is classic fantasy races. So you remember in the start of this video when I said there are exceptions to everything, things can be done well? Well, for this one, classic fantasy races, I would say out. And here's the reason. I think so much of fantasy is really just ripping off Tolkien. So, I mean, things about like elves and dwarves and dragons, really. Dragons to a lesser extent. Dragons are always cool, but orcs, elves, dwarves. I don't know, of course, like if Tolkien like came up with those or if he just like really popularized it, you know? But it's been like 50, 60, I don't know how long it's been since Tolkien, 80 years or whatever, and people are still writing about orcs and elves and dwarves. I think you need to give it a rest. You need to quit stealing from Tolkien or quit trying to be Tolkien. Quit having like medieval fantasies and especially like European based fantasies and branch out and use the entire world as inspiration. So, I mean, quit using like medieval era orcs and elves and explore the world, go different places. Try like the Americas, try like Native American culture, try African culture, try Asian culture, and use different things about that and use different governments and different like time zones than medieval era. Use the whole world instead of just using medieval era and Europe and Tolkien. Move on. Quit trying to rip off the same subject for all these years trying to be Tolkien. Branch out. Use the whole world as your oyster. So, for classic fantasy races, I would say out. Come up with something new. Come up with something original. Explore the whole world. Explore different time zones. Or not time zones, time eras or whatever. Different eras. And try having fantasy that way. 17 is unreliable narrators. So, of course, as I said earlier, there are always exceptions. For this one, I would say I do not like unreliable narrators. Maybe because I just don't like being lied to by the narrator. And it also makes me feel like an idiot because it's like, haha, I was lying the whole time. Didn't you know that? And that just makes me feel stupid. So I do not like unreliable narrators. I know it can be done well, but overall, if I see like the narrator was just lying to me the whole time, I would probably not be like, oh man, that totally fooled me. I would be more upset, just like, oh, God, I completely didn't see that coming. That is stupid. I hate the author for tricking me. I hate myself. So, unreliable narrators, I just don't really like them. So, I would say out. 18 is evil protagonists. So, as with the other one, monsters are real people, I would definitely like this. I would definitely like evil protagonists. Now, I want to clarify something here. Evil protagonists, that is in. Protagonists who are just plain annoying or just jerks, basically. Main thing is annoying protagonists. That would definitely be out. If I just cannot stand this protagonist, if I just want someone to slap them or kill them, I am going to DNF the book because I just do not want to read about that person. I don't want to have anything to do with that person. But evil protagonists, characters who are just like really twisted and not annoying, that would definitely be cool. So, for evil protagonists, I would say definitely in. 19 is the chosen one. So, for this one, the main one that comes to mind is Harry Potter, because of course he is the chosen one. That is something I did not like about this series. I would say largely I just do not like this. Just because it's like, I always ask myself, like, chosen by whom or who? I don't know. I think whom is right. So I just do not like chosen ones in books, chosen one prophecies, or anything like that. I think that is just kind of annoying. I like books where it's more just like anyone can be the hero, kind of. So I don't like chosen ones. So I would say out. That does also go for Harry Potter. I see no reason why he had to be the chosen one. Who was he chosen by? Who was this prophecy by? That all just did not make sense to me. I do not think it added anything to the story. And I also don't like it because it's like, it sets up that the protagonist has to be the one to face the villain in the end. And I just don't really like that. I've said this before. I think in the Harry Potter series that Neville should have been the one to kill Voldemort in the end. I think that would have been a much cooler ending. It is the same thing with Star Wars. All this stuff about you refer to the chosen one in prophecy. Who is chosen one by whom for Anakin? It's just confusing and I don't like it. I don't like this idea also that it is not by the character's own choice, like it's their destiny to do this. And then what's really the point? If it was already like prophesized and predestined that they do this thing, then why is it really special when they do that thing? Of course they do that thing. They were the chosen one. So I just hate it. It is out to me. The 20th prompt is when the protagonist dies. So this is very fitting, coming just after what I said about Harry Potter, how I think he should have died in the book. So obviously, yes, I would be for this. It is concerning because, I mean, that'd be a bad ending. I mean, it'd be a tragic ending. So, I mean, that's like, oh, my feelings. But still, I would not really mind that. So I would say this is in for me. But at the same time, I also think you have to be careful with it. So I don't think you should really just have the protagonist die just because you're wanting to twist the knife and be like, haha, you didn't see that coming, did you, readers? So, because a lot of my books also have tragic endings, so I'm like, haha, I like twisting the knife. That's how I am as a writer or a person. So, I mean, I think it should definitely have some more meaning to it. So, if you just have the protagonist die just because you're trying to shock readers, that is probably not good. So, I think they definitely have to have some kind of a worthy death. Their death has to mean something more than just trying to, like, make readers cry. But anyway, all in all, I say it's in. 21 is really long chapters. So I don't want to spend much time on this one. I would say this is out. I just do not really like long chapters. I like chapters to be anywhere between like 5-6 pages and about 15 or maybe 20. 20 would kind of be pushing it. So right around like 5 to 10, maybe 15 pages, I think is perfect, ideal chapter length. Real long chapters like, I don't know, 60-page chapters, 80, 100-page chapters, I just don't really like that because I like some kind of a break. If you're going to have like a 60-page chapter, I think you should definitely have section breaks in that chapter. So, really long chapters, all in all, I would say out. "22 is French flaps." So I actually had to Google this to see what are French flaps. So apparently, I don't know if this is the exact example, but French flaps are something like the inside flap of the book. And the reason these exist, other than just like having a cover for the dust jacket, is apparently these are supposed to function as like bookmarks. So you just go to wherever you're reading and just put the inside flap like that and go like that. But even though I have done that a few times, I don't do that anymore because I just have receipts and stuff for bookmarks. So a problem I have when I do this, use the inside flap as a bookmark, I'll like pick up the book and go to open it and it just, the flap just goes right back to where it's supposed to be and I lose my spot. So I just do not like that really. I don't see the purpose in it really. I mean, so inside flaps, I mean, there's no problem with them if they're just like part of the dust jacket or whatever. That is fine. But as for like using them for bookmarks, like, aha, this is fancy, isn't it? You have a little flap here for a bookmark. I would just not use that. I would just use a plain old bookmark or a receipt or whatever. So French flaps, I would say, are out for me. "23 is Deckled. Is it Deckled? 23 is Deckled edges. So I did not actually have to Google this one. Deckled edges are like, I would use an example, but I don't think you'd be able to see it well. But that is like the edge of the book when the pages are kind of like not all perfectly aligned, where they kind of like jigsaw in and out. That is considered like some kind of like an artisan quality book. So those are deckled edges. They're supposed to be like, ooh, pretty, fancy. I don't really like those, and one reason why is you don't even see them. I mean, the side of the book that would have the deckled pages would be like facing away from view. So I mean, you don't see them on the bookshelf. And another thing is, when you're actually reading that book that has deckled edges, I think it becomes more difficult to turn the pages because you have to try and like pry with your finger more and figure out like, am I on the next page or did I just like skip 8 pages because the next few pages are like shorter and whatever. So I think deckled edges just make reading books harder, make turning the page harder, because you have to just try to make sure you're turning only one page instead of like a whole clump of pages. Deckled edges are out to me. 24 is signed copies by the author. 25 is dog-eared pages. 26 is chapter titles instead of numbers. Ooh, this one's real difficult. So, I mean, it can be done well. I can like it for sure. I mean, like Harry Potter series, I like how they have the chapter titles. That is cool, I think. But for a lot of books, it can spoil it. So, for instance, if your chapter title is called Crash or something, and then you have like the protagonist's parents getting in a car, it's really obvious right from that moment what is going to happen. So chapter titles can definitely be dangerous. They can spoil the chapter, they can spoil the book, but they can be done well. So this is tricky. I would say in. Personally, for myself, all my books except for one, I just use chapter numbers. One book that I have called Grace's Will, I do plan to use chapter titles. So all in all, I would say overall I do not like it, but still I would say for this, chapter titles are in. But to be clear, I do prefer just chapter numbers. Anyway, that is it for this tag. So what do you guys think? Do you completely disagree with any of these? Or do you agree with any of them in particular? Let me know. Leave a like. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. You're real good this video, birds. You're real quiet. They were good this time. Good birdies.